Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm Bob Nickman. Glad you're here. My guest today is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Sonny Mayo. And he is here to talk about stem cell therapy that he had for a genetic heart condition. Now, Sonny is an old friend of mine. I've known him for about, 15, 16 years, and did not know he had a genetic heart condition. Had no idea until he had a couple of heart attacks, and he decided, well, it's sort of a circuitous path as to how he found out about this stem cell therapy that he went to Panama to have. And this was a procedure that he had done 2 months ago. So and I say we because we're talking a fresh, it's kind of a fresh thing. So we're going to find out exactly what happened and how he came to go down to Panama and what these results are so far. It's pretty phenomenal stuff. I have never known anything about this stuff. I have had no experience, so this is like one of those interviews that I love because it's all brand new information to me. And let's listen in. This is Sonny Mayo, guitarist extraordinaire, singer.
I do some vocals.
Yeah. But Sonny is not here for his musical stuff, although we may get into that. Sonny has a heart condition, is struggled with some issues with his heart, and had something that they don't really do here in the United States, which is some stem cell therapy. And we're going to talk about the conditions that led up to him doing this and the procedure and, the whole picture. Because I don't know anything about this. This is why I love these kind of interviews, when I know nothing, except that I know you and I can see a difference. So tell us about the condition that you have leading up to this stem cell treatment.
Sure thing. So I have a genetic predisposition to low HDL, which is what's considered the high type cholesterol. So my lows are high and my highs are low. My HDL is low, my LDL is high. LDL is bad cholesterol.
Yes.
HDL is good, quote unquote, cholesterol. And so this has been a thing that's been in my family for generations, the males in the family or whatever. I was not in a position for many years to address it because I was an active alcoholic / drug addict. And so I wasn't really paying attention to my health, though I knew that it was there. And then when it did come time to address such things, and I chose a specific doctor at, I'm just going to say it, at Kaiser Permanente in Los Angeles. And I chose this particular physician because she had a history of having studied heart disease. And so I was like, that's who I want to be my general practitioner because I have it in my family and I'd like to have it addressed if and when, however we can.
So your family was aware of this condition, but you were not having checkups. You were just out in the world being a young guy.
Precisely.
Having a great time,
yeah.
You thought.
Yeah. My dad had a heart attack when he was 50.
Okay.
My grandmother, his mom had a heart condition. His brother had a bypass. One of his sisters had an irregular heart.
Okay.
Like literally anatomically irregular.
So, I see what you're saying. So,
right.
Okay. So is the condition that there's blockage? Is that the result of the?
Ultimately,
okay.
That's what it became.
Okay.
Yeah, got to that point. But I also had it on my mom's side too. Her dad died of a massive coronary when he was 63, and 1977 or something like that. So I didn't realize, and when I went to Kaiser and they tested me for triglycerides and all the things. And she said, your triglycerides are high. I said, yeah, I have a heart disease in my family. And literally they did nothing. There was nothing recommended to me to change. I was vegetarian at the time. I had not been for 42 years. I'd been on a, American diet of double cheeseburgers and all the things. And then I became vegetarian, but I didn't realize that it was already too late. There were already blockages forming. So I had a heart attack on July 22nd of 2016. July 21st, 2016. And I was at the gym. I was stronger than I'd ever been. I was working out with my nephew, who's 20 years younger than me.
Yeah, so just let me say to the people listening, Sonny is in good shape. And he's always, ever since I've known you, which is, 10, 15 years maybe.
Yeah, 16, yeah.
Yeah, always looking good shape.
I'm lean, yeah.
Fit, energetic. No indication that he would be somebody with a heart disease from the outside.
And this is the thing. If there's just for your listeners, there's a great documentary called The Widowmaker. It was on. I watched it on Netflix in February. It's probably still on there. It's called The Widowmaker, and it talks about how it doesn't matter if you are overweight. Certainly, it doesn't help to be overweight or to eat unhealthy. But there are these things, man, that we don't address. And heart disease is actually the number one killer of men and women in the United States. Not cancer, not diabetes, not the things that are sort of glamorous, like the whole fuck cancer thing.
Yes.
Like that's, it's not cool to say fuck heart disease. It doesn't.
It sounds thin, feeble.
Yes, it's a little. No substance.
Yeah. Right. It's not really a worthy adversary.
It's not very punk rock.
All right.
It's not a worthy adversary. It's exactly right.
It's just heart disease.
Yeah,
it's
you're
not
like,
cancer.
Yeah, what? I like cheeseburgers. What? I can't say fuck heart disease. So, having said that, this goes into that. How it's not. It doesn't really matter technically, and people. You don't have to be 70 or 75, whatever. However, people in their 30s suddenly are just having a heart attack, and so they go into that whole thing. My experience was I was working out. I was in great shape. I was stronger than I'd ever been. My nephew was training me, and I didn't realize that I had this feeling before, but never on this level. And so we're in Santa Monica. If anybody doesn't know that's listening, there's this thing that we call the Santa Monica Stairs.
Oh, yes.
And I would do, when I got divorced at the end of 2013, I was doing the stairs. I'd do them like 20 times. And for anybody that doesn't know, they're 180 stairs.
Very steep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you just go up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And every now and then I would feel this tightness in my chest and kind of weirdness in my left arm. And I was completely ignorant. And now I say it because I'm more aware of it. But back then I was I guess I'll just stop. Right. And then even when I was training someone, I was being trained, I tell my trainer, I feel a little, and maybe you're just exhausted or something. Then when I was with my nephew on July 21st of 16, and I'm doing, 85-pound dumbbell presses over my head with my shoulders, I felt this serious tightness in my chest, and then felt like a blood pressure cuff on my left arm. And I told him, I was like, I think something's going on here. I feel this sensation. And he goes, your left arm and your chest, and the look of like, that's the thing. That's a heart attack. So I went to the hospital. Went to Kaiser. I went in. There's a thing they check called troponin, which is a level. It's an enzyme that's only secreted when a person is having stress on their heart. The heart sheds cells under duress, and troponin is in the cells. And so you and I have zero troponin would be negative for troponin. So they test you. I had troponin levels of a certain thing. They said it's not emergency right now, but we need to take you in. We need to admit you, and you're going to have an angiogram tomorrow. And so I was in the hospital overnight, and then they took me in for an angiogram the next day. Anyone that doesn't know what an angiogram is, it's when they go into your artery. They can go into the wrist. They went into my hip artery. They go into the heart with a catheter, literally feed the catheter up. Do you know what that is?
I know what it is, but keep going because some people might not.
They go up into the heart, literally with the catheter from the hip up to the heart, inject a dye. They can then, that's like a certain type of dye that they can then scan with an X-ray scanner and see the blood flow through all the arteries, and they can detect blockages. They found 4 blockages, and they said, Mr. Mayo, we need to put stents in because you have 4 blockages, and you're going to need to take some medications for the rest of your life. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds better than dying, so let's do that. Yes, please.
certainly a step up.
Yeah. From dying, there's that, or
Yeah.
And so the just on a personal level, it's one of those moments where I had like some of the deepest spiritual experiences I've ever had.
Oh.
It's like, why do we have to be, or I'll just own it myself, why do I have to be on the verge of death before I'm actually alive?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. The terror or the surprise, the finality of that being shown to you, demonstrated, makes you go, oh man, I'm not really appreciating being alive. I mean, I had a similar thing when I was in the hospital with pneumonia, and I felt as bad as I'd ever felt, and I go, I'm gonna die. This is it. I was like sure of it almost. I was like 80%. And I remember thinking when I was laying there was, if I get out of here, I'm going to, kept saying two words, simplify and enjoy. I've been somewhat successful at it, but not to the level that I want to be.
You've been trained to be the opposite of those two things.
Well,
Mostly.
I've simplified, more, and I've enjoyed more, but not to the degree that I had fantasized in there, in the hospital. But, there's realistic sort of survival things that require a lot of effort.
Yeah. And we don't, and I don't really address it until that moment. And so they put 4 stents in. They put me on some blood thinners, anticoagulant or antiplatelet, which is called Plavix or clopidogrel, which some people might know it as, baby aspirin, and then a high-powered statin, a atorvastatin, and some blood pressure medications as well, because they wanted to keep my blood pressure down while the things healed.
That's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
All pill form?
Yeah. And so I went from 0 pills in my existence, maybe like some probiotics or some kind of,
Yeah, that doesn't count.
nothing,
Yeah.
but no prescriptions at all, to 4. And this was not in my plan. And so they kind of sent me on my way. They just kind of went, okay, well, we'll see.
Boy, that's how they treat stuff, man. It's like, here's the magic pills.
Yep.
Do this. Something happens, come back.
This is one of the things that kills me. And I'm going to try to not sound belligerent toward the American medical system as much as I can, but it leaves me feeling distraught.
No, yeah, I know we've talked a little bit about this. You know what we're great at here with American medicine is diagnostic tools. Great at that stuff. Great machinery.
Diagnosing a problem.
Yes, great at it. And, emergency surgeries, that kind of stuff, great.
Treatment.
But long-term sort of solutions at a core level, not so much taught in medical schools from what I understand.
Preventative, not so much.
Not so
Continuing education, especially diet, not required.
I know, isn't that strange?
It's not required.
All the evidence that shows that that's an important thing. And
it's
that's
an old
one of
system.
the things I'm going to be covering a little more in my podcast is food.
I have another guy that you might want to interview, David Wiss.
Love to.
I got you, man. I got
you've
you.
helped me a lot.
I have, and I will.
Yeah.
I will continue.
You're the third person. I mean, you've given me 2 other people.
I'm
now,
the third.
Now here you are.
only took 2, and I was like, "Is this enough? Can I be on the podcast now?" Yeah. Hey, here's. Yeah, I gave you some rock to recovery, some meditation, and how about now? Right. About some stem cells.
Stem cells. Then we're going to food, and then who knows what
nutrition.
Else. Cure for baldness. That's what we need next.
Oh my God, I wouldn't know what to do with a full head of hair.
I wouldn't either. I don't even want it now.
I know, right? I have to do something with it.
Yeah,
just shave it off.
I'm out of the house in 3 seconds.
God,
now.
dude, I took a shower before I got here. It was 3 minutes, and I think I lingered for a little while.
Yeah,
I literally was like, I got a couple
There's a
minutes.
drop on my one sort of stubble piece that's still left up there.
Yeah.
All right. Two bald guys just sort of
what were we talking
bonding.
about?
We were
heart attack.
Stem cells.
Oh yeah.
Balding's better though. It's just more fun.
Yeah. It's way fun. So so they sent me on my way, Bob, and I tell you, this medication, I'm pretty sure it was the statins and the blood pressure medications were taxing my existence. I felt old. My muscles were cramped. I didn't want to do anything. Certainly I was feeling depression from the heart attack.
Yeah, right. That's very common apparently post heart attack. But still, I'm sure the medications were totally messing with your everything.
There's something that they gave me. We're talking about the whole preventative thing. They gave me, like your hey, you just had a heart attack and now you have stents starter kit. Here you go.
What?
Right? Meaning all the meds,
and
then a bunch of leaflets and paperwork and stuff. And so I was like, I had a week where I had to do nothing, and I sat in my home and I binge watched Stranger Things. This is 2 years ago, of course, and all the thing. And so I started reading. Well, what are they telling me to do here? And then it says, we recommend a vegetarian diet. We recommend no beef. We recommend vegetables.
Something.
Well, after the fact, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't blow up the bridge while you're on it.
Right. Well, it would have been nice to, learn that stuff when we're younger.
Exactly.
But,
my parents didn't know they were feeding me heart disease. We were trained. We were literally trained.
Absolutely. Meat and potatoes and a vegetable.
Yep. Maybe.
Maybe.
Starch. Potato.
Yeah.
Which is not rich
when
in
I
nutrient.
was growing up, my mother used to buy, this was the thing, because it was, the late 50s, early 60s, was frozen vegetables that you just drop in a boiling pot of water.
Yeah.
Right, convenient.
Mm-hmm. Quick.
Horrible.
Got to get them in your, Oh, yeah, here's your vegetable. A little broccoli that really doesn't have much nutrients in it, but eat some. Yeah, so this was my kind of beef, quote unquote, with the American medical system is after the fact. And then it's all about treat. So I have a lifetime subscription to some of these medications. They got me forever. So the thing that actually saved me, quote unquote, is now also a liability, because what then occurred is a year and a half later, I had the flu, January of 2018, and it was gnarly, dude. And I don't know when you had your flu that you were talking about.
It was about 2.5, 3 years.
Okay,
ago,
that far. Okay.
Which sort of segued into pneumonia. It was really brutal, really brutal.
I feel like I might have been on the edge of that, but yeah. So I had the granddaddy of flus from January 5th to January 19th. I was out for 2 weeks, fully 10 days of fever, and body just shot. And while I was laying and just recuperate, trying to take care of myself, because they said if you're sick with a heart condition, you have to not work. You have to relax. You have to rest. And so as much as I could honor that, I said, okay, I'll just stay home. And so I found myself in this position where I was laying in bed and I felt like I really wanted to die. Honestly, I felt so bad.
Yeah, bring it.
I was just like, take me now.
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay.
That's how you know you're really sick. You go, you know what? It's not even worth to keep going. This is just not going to, even if I get better, it's still not going to be that good. That's how bad I feel.
Like, it's cool, man. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've been laying here thinking about it, and I've had a great life. Thanks. Put on a podcast, Joe Rogan podcast. And I don't know what it was. I don't know why I chose this one, but it was Mel Gibson and Dr. Neil Reardon, Riourdan. And I think maybe someone told me. I can't really remember, Bob. But I'm laying there and I was and it's on YouTube, so you can watch and listen at the same time. You can also do podcasts, obviously, the way that you do it, with no video. But it's on YouTube. Bam. So I'm laying there, and Dr. Reardon is on there with Mel Gibson, and Joe Rogan says, so Mel, you actually asked to be on this show. Why did you ask to be on my show? And Mel Gibson, kooky as he is, whatever people think of him, the man was there to testify on behalf of his father's results from stem cells. So his father was 92 years old, and he was dying. Liver failure, kidney failure, heart disease, hip destroyed, just shot out. And they took him to the Mayo Clinic when he was 92, and they said, the Mayo Clinic did all the diagnostics on him, and they said, yeah, he's in trouble. If he leaves here, he's going to be dead in 2 weeks. And so, Mel's like, well, what should we do? And I think it was his brother, Mel Gibson's brother, that said to him, hey, man, should we consider stem cells? And Mel Gibson, like anyone, like most people, especially doctors in the United States of America, they think snake charmers, witch doctors,
all voodoo, charlatans, scammers,
eating babies. You're eating fetuses. Did you ever see the South Park with that?
No.
Oh my God,
I love that image. It's just
There's a South Park from years ago.
Yeah.
Because this is the first Bush administration is, I will say, responsible for the stunting of stem cell research in the United States because of their stance on abortion and such.
Well, there's a religious piece to
Sure.
it and a lot of fear around it, and I think that drives a lot of it. And also, I'm sure there's a money factor. If here's this other type of treatment that the American Medical Association and Big Pharma doesn't own and can control, that it's a threat that way also.
You're telling me there's something that I can take out of my own body and put back into my body that can fix me, or I can take from something that's not being used from a birth, that's a healthy birth, and I can put it into my. How can you make that into a drug? I don't know. They're trying. I'm sure they're trying right now. So having said that, before I get ahead of myself, I was watching this, and so they took. So Mel Gibson's brother introduced him to Dr. Neil Reardon via phone. So the head of the Mayo Clinic, and this is straight from the podcast, Joe Rogan podcast with Mel Gibson and Dr. Reardon. Dr. Reardon got on the phone with Mel Gibson and the head of the Mayo Clinic and sent them data and had conversations and shared what they do and how they do it and where they get the stem cells and how they multiply them in the lab, which is called Metastem. Stem Cell Institute is in Panama City, Panama. Metastem is also in Panama, but it's a couple towns away.
Is Dr. Reardon an American?
He is.
So he had to leave our country in order to do what he's doing. And I guess maybe I'll listen to that podcast to find out more about him. But he studied this and learned about it where?
He started the Stem Cell Institute actually in Dallas, Texas. But the type of stem cells that he uses are the ones that he cannot use in the United States. And I'll tell you about that too, yeah. Okay. So the Mayo doctor looked at Mel and was like, you might as well do it, dude. You might as well try it. There's nothing to lose. So they flew him down to Panama. They wheeled him in a wheelchair. They put a massive dose in his hip. They go intramuscular, intravenous. 6 months later, his hip was healing. A year later, it was completely healed, and he was doing he was moonwalking. At that point, he was 93. He's about to turn 100 in August. This next month, the man's going to turn 100 years old. I don't know what his name is, but Mel Gibson's dad's going to turn 100 years old, and the heart disease, liver failure, and kidney failure were clearing up and ultimately cleared up.
Well, that's
unbelievable. But and here I am laying in bed wishing I was dead, and I go, wow, that sounds like something I'm interested in. So I lean over, I type it in my computer, cellmedicine.com, bing, and I have a tab pulled up on my computer, and I kind of read some stuff, and then I watch the rest of it, and I'm like, this is so interesting, wow, amazing, and I go on with my life. A few days later, it's a Monday morning, I'm back to work. I'm a music therapist, and so I was at work, and I was loading my gear into my car, end of the day. And I was kind of like exerting myself. This was different, and I had a heart attack, second heart attack. This was different than the first one in that the onset felt completely different. It was not a pain in my chest. It was not a tightness in my left arm. It was a feeling of anxiety. And I've heard other people describe theirs as this as well. And so I had this anxiety, and I'm not an anxious person. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm
you're energetic, but you're not anxious.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say there's a big difference.
Enthusiastic, even.
You are enthusiastic.
Mm-hmm. Energetic. Some people go, yeah, what do they say?
You're a bubbly delight.
Yeah, that's the words. What is it? Bubbly delight. You're like champagne, non-alcoholic Martinelli's champagne. And so, dude, I started, something's wrong. I'm just thinking, and I'm having conversations with people as I'm loading my car. What's wrong with me? I get in the car, start drive for 15, 20 minutes. I'm sweating. Oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. Is this a thing? I thought, and I started to feel pain, and I drove straight to Kaiser. I could have stopped. I didn't. I just kept driving. Went straight there, and I went in. It's flu season. 10 people in line. I walked right past everybody, right to the guy, and I said, I'm having chest pains, and I have stents. And he just waved me back. He's like, get back here. Come on. They rush me over to the catheter lab. They throw me on a table. They go in again with the angiogram. They go, your arteries are inflamed, quote unquote, and one of them is closing, contracting 2 stents, and a blood clot formed between the 2.
Oh man, do you think the flu is what set it off?
That's what my cardiologist said in the follow up. So opened the 2 stents.
So maybe I can get an honorary degree with my question.
Bing. So you think I can just get grandfathered in?
Yeah, grandfather me in, man. I figured that one out fast.
You did instantly. So then that's what it was. I mean, that's what she said so they opened it up. They put another one where the blood clot was. So I have 5 stents now. I got a 5-piece. And they put me in, I was in the hospital for 2 days, went home, went to the doctor, went to the cardiologist 2 days later, and she went, "You just had the flu, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "I saw people over the Christmas holiday that were coming in their 20s with the flu and were having cardiac issues because of it." Someone sent me a snapshot of a CNN homepage thing that said, because it was flu season, people over 35 years of age are 6 times more likely to have a heart attack 7 to 10 days after having the flu. That was like a statistic from the New England Journal of Medicine. I looked it up. I went to it and looked it up, right?
Well, that's the kind of stuff you want to see on the news, like more than this political stuff.
Yeah.
I think that would save a lot more lives just to put that statistic out there.
Yeah, just to be like, "Hey, by the way, you guys, here's this thing." And so that is my experience. I literally was in the 7 to 10 day, had a heart attack.
Man. Yeah, that part I didn't know.
And so then, and I didn't really know what to do, man. And I went to my cardiologist and I'm like, "So what do we do? Do we do like annual scans?" And she's like, "No, I don't recommend that." I was all, "No?" She goes, "No, it's not healthy." Yeah. What?
No, I don't recommend that.
Yeah. No, I don't recommend. I was all,
"What do you recommend?"
"Yeah, what do you recommend?"
Oh.
"More medication. Double the statin. Here's another blood pressure medication," which was going to make you feel like you're going to wish you were dead, actually. And this one is called lisinopril, and it actually there are side effects of depression and suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. It's like, really? But it's saving you, okay?
Yeah. Diarrhea.
I don't want it to save, rectal leakage. Yeah. So I go home and I'm like, I don't know what to do, man. What am I supposed to do? And then literally, and I had kind of forgotten that I had stem cell medicine pulled up on my computer. And I'm talking to a mutual friend of ours actually one day, and he goes, "Yo, man, you ever think about stem cells?" And I was telling him about the heart attack, and I go, "Yeah, in fact, I have it pulled up on my computer right now." And he goes, "Yeah, I watched this Joe Rogan podcast." And I was like, "Ooh."
So this thing isn't going away. It keeps coming to tell you, give you the message.
And then literally every 2 or 3 people that I would tell, they go, "Man, you ever check in a stem cell therapy?" And it just kept on knocking on the door. So I applied. I went on cellmedicine.com. I looked up all the information on heart disease and there's videos and stuff. And I just kept looking for data. I'm not a PhD by any means, whatever, but I kept looking for data and I found plenty. If you keep digging, you can find plenty. Now, is it substantiated by the United States government and the Food and Drug Administration? No. It's in the 3rd stage of clinical trials right now, this type of stem cell, which is called mesenchymal. So I'll just tell you now, the type of stem cell that they're talking about is not allowed in the United States. It's not regulated. But there are people that are doing it and they're being shut down by the FDA here, left and right. So Dr. Neil Reardon, who is, I haven't met him. We've talked online and stuff, but the guy's so rad because he's like, "Yeah, sure, I could do it in the States. I won't do it until it's completely legal." He had to go first to Costa Rica to study and practice, and then he opened the actual cell institute, the stem cell institute in Panama City, Panama. So the type of stem cells that they use are not allowed in the States. The ones that are allowed in the States are rendered from fat. So they can actually do liposuction and take your own fat cells, separate the stem cells, quote unquote, that are in the fat, and then inject them into, generally speaking, it's for joint pain, for arthritis, for injuries in joints. Mm-hmm. There's also platelet-rich plasma, which is also your own blood, the person's own blood. They draw the blood, they spin it, they separate the serum and the plasma. They take the plasma and they inject it into a couple of our friends, actually, that mutual friends have had that done. One of our buddies had it in his elbow, and he's like, it worked fantastically. Like it cleared up some bursitis or something like that he had in his elbow. And then there is bone marrow, which is completely invasive. And they go into your hip generally. They get it from your, whatever the tailbone is. And then there's those three are allowed in the United States, regulated. The mesenchymal, what they are is not to be confused with embryonic. This is not embryonic. They are doing studies on embryonic stem cells and ways to actually program the cells, because embryonic cells they're called differentiated, or they're designated. So this cell's been made to be a nail. That's skin cells. These are eyelash, hair, organs, all the things, bone cells. So those are differentiated. So sometimes people go to Tijuana and get stem cells, and it can actually cause cancer because they're not meant to, because it's meant to be like a tooth or something. Like you might grow a tooth out of your eye, or who knows what.
Oh, so it's not used in the proper area.
Exactly. But they're stem cells. Generally speaking, stem cells are not one only thing. There's different types of stem cells. So the ones that these guys use, that the Cell Institute use, are called mesenchymal. MESYNCHMAL. Mesenchymal. There may be another Y in there somewhere.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
They're free.
Have a couple. Sometimes you can use it as a vowel.
There's a Y and a why not.
Yeah. A-E-I-O-U. Sometimes Y. Sometimes
so where do these come from, these special?
They come from the healthy birth umbilical cords. They are rendered in Panama. They get them in Panama. They pay mothers. There's a lot of stem cell banks in America now, storage. So umbilical cord storage, so that you can then, because it's gonna happen in the States.
So they can freeze dry them.
Yeah, and so later it's expensive, but later you can use them for the child. You can use them for whomever. So these are they're rendered from what's called the Wharton's jelly. It's a tube that actually goes around the umbilical cord, and these are undesignated cells. Their only job is to promote cell health. So what they do is they render these cells. They take them to the lab called Metastem in Panama. The multiplication rate of these cells, since they're called adult stem cells, but that just means they have grown to their adult stage. They're not from adults. They themselves are adult, and they harvest these, and then the multiplication rate is the highest that it can be because they're brand new from an umbilical cord, and so they multiply them, and then they inject them intravenously, intramuscularly, or in joints. Subcutaneously as well, which I'll tell you, I got some in my big toes because I had arthritis, or have arthritis in my big toe joints. And so back to the chronological order, my friend was, I got the approval from them that you do qualify. I sent them my records, all the x-rays, all the stuff. They said you qualify. Here's the price. I might as well say it. It's around $30,000. And because I've been public about it, and so I was like, I don't have $30,000, but I definitely being insured in the United States of America, which I am. I pay close to $500 a month for insurance, and then there's copays, and then there's medication, and then there's 2 stent surgeries. The first one was billed at $76,000, of which I was liable for around 10. The second one was billed at close to $50,000, and I was liable for around 6 of that, right? So there's $16,000 that was like,
yeah, and a total of $126,000 in surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 times what this treatment is already.
Exactly.
Not counting everything else that you had to do.
Yeah, exactly. Put copays, doctor visits, all the things, and prescriptions. So my buddy was like, who we both know, he was like, we could raise you $30,000 in 5 minutes. And I was like, what, really? And I didn't, just insecure. Like, no, what? I can't ask people for help. I can't ask people for money. And he goes, dude, if we do a GoFundMe campaign, we'll get it for you like that. And I really? And then I talked to some other people, and they were like, let's do it, dude. Let's do it.
Yeah, that was amazing how fast that happened.
Bro.
I was like, this is so great.
Oh, my God. I had no idea.
How fast did it happen? I remember just you getting on your Facebook page and saying, I can't believe this. You're kind of teary. And it was really quite lovely to see
Thanks. How
many people came to your aid that loved you and just went, let's help this guy. He's our buddy. Yeah.
And those people and myself, I owe it to you and me to try to better my life. And so I said, please help me. And I did a video. A friend of ours, Steven Steelman, awesome human, did a video for me. He shot me, doing, sort of giving the information and then telling what I was going to do, and then asking for help. And we did that, and did a GoFundMe campaign. So the initial goal was 33. Now, it was very conservative. I didn't want to ask for too much, and then I ended up not asking for enough, and then I got way more than I actually needed, right? And so I asked for 33 initially, and I reached that within less than 36 hours, $33,000.
Wow.
Within 12 hours, it was at like 27. I think it might have even been less than 36. It might have been 24 hours I hit the goal. I think it was, Bob. I think it was 24 hours. Yeah, or maybe by the evening of the next night. Once it hit the goal, I made the appointment. And so this was in March. This was March 5th, 6th, 7th when I hit the goal. And I contacted them, and I couldn't get in there till May 14th. So it was 2 months. So I hit the goal, but then I couldn't go for it's not like, okay, I'm going tomorrow. It was 2 months. And man, I was in a dark place, dude. I was depressed. Lovely expression of love, which was deeply felt and appreciated, and I reached out to everyone that I could, every single person I could, I reached out to personally. And it was dark, man. And I just, I can't remember. I think it's Samuel Beck. I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a writer who my old friend Ken would quote, and it says, the quote is, "I can't go on. I can't go on. I go on."
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I did that. I just was like, God help me, just take the next literal step, one more foot forward, and do my work.
No, you were still working during this time?
Yeah, I did back.
At least going through the motions of working.
Exactly. When I got to the point where it was time to go, my sister went with me because with a heart condition, you have to have someone come with you. Even though I'm 46 and
Right, they want to make sure if something doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, and you need emotional support as well as whatever.
Mm-hmm. The family's there.
Yeah.
What something else the being public about it did for me, Bob, was on the back end, it connected me with people who are also going through these things, and then they got to open up to me. And it makes me I'm just kind of emotional right now.
Yeah.
Because, man, there's people in England. A guy in England reached out to me and said, "Thank you, man, for being public about this." Because people don't realize, whatever people don't realize, there's no one I can talk to about this. And so I was able to connect with this guy. And this dude has gone through unbelievable things. I mean, I've had 2 heart attacks. That's insane. Already, I want to give props to the fact that I'm still healthy, and man, I was physical today. I walked my dog for an hour and a half and exercise, and this guy has experienced a lot heavier toll on his body than I.
It's so great that you can give back so quickly and so worldwide.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of. That's where I love. That's the stuff I love about the internet and social media is that reach. Yeah, to help people.
That's like the proper use of.
Sure is. Yeah. You mean selfies aren't it?
So it was fantastic, man, to be able to connect with people, bro. So humbling and spiritual, And so then other people that didn't have heart conditions but had stem cell treatment would reach out to me. Hey, I was just there. The scope of treatment for stem cells, the scope of conditions that stem cells treat, specifically mesenchymal stem cells, it's really had a big impact on autoimmune disorders. Not necessarily, when I say autoimmune, I don't mean immunodeficiency. I mean autoimmune, like lupus and MS, multiple sclerosis specifically. So I started getting, people were like, I went and did it. It was great. Another mutual friend of ours went. He's like, dude, I went and did it. He kind of like laid out what it looks like in Panama for me, and I was all great. And he's like, you get these things done, you see the Panama Canal, and then you're like, oh great, I'm just in Panama. And that's kind of what it was. Yeah.
Well, you're not there for sightseeing.
It's true.
You're there to do something important.
It's true. And so.
Now, does your sister have this also?
No.
The one that went with you. So she was, okay.
As far as heart condition?
Yeah.
She has been totally normal on all the things. So we flew to Panama, the way that they have it set up with the Cell Institute is seamless. It's a breeze. They got it set up really well. So you stay at the Sheraton, the Hilton in Panama City. You fly in. Literally got off the plane. There was somebody standing there with Mayo, and then there was another name because there was a sweet little child who I swear we had a connection in like Miami or something, and I saw this child, and I knew he was autistic. He was on the spectrum of some sort, and little did I know he was going to the Stem Cell Institute as well. It also treats autism, or they're using it to treat autism.
Man.
Yeah, and it's because I can tell you some of the things as we go along, but so I started talking. I'm chatty, and I have no problem being like, "Hey,"
you're making my job real easy today, which I love.
Do you?
Yeah, because I'm actually interested in everything you're saying. I'm like, man, this guy's good. I don't have to think of anything.
All I had to do was guess if the flu caused the arteries.
Yeah, I got one good thing in there, a couple of jokes, and you're doing everything else.
Yeah, throw in a couple jokes, and so. Beautifully too, like the life that I get to live is I live a life of meditation and trying to become more aware of where I am and what's going on and all the things. So I remember stuff now, and I'm like, this is what happened along the way. So I can just give you the information. And so got off the plane. It got me they immediately right through customs. They had somebody to help me out. And we got in the car. And they just drove us straight to the Sheraton. Sorry, I keep saying that. Right to the Hilton. We go into the Hilton. They're like, here's your stem cell. The Hilton has a deal with them. Here's your stem cell information packet. Here's a key to the other bay of elevators. Because guess what, Sonny? The building in which the Stem Cell Institute is located, it's connected to this building that the Hilton is in. It's a skyscraper. That's literally, they're connected. Oh. So you don't even have to go outside to go from your hotel to the Cell Institute.
I thought of everything.
Yo, it is brilliant. So checked into the Hilton, easy peasy, whatever. Next morning, I went over for my appointment, which was like in the morning. It was like regular doctor's appointment. I went in, 63rd floor, beautiful view of the Panama Bay, Panama City. Full beautiful facility, like legit, like it's not like, okay, meet me at the 7-Eleven just on the other side. It's
not a back alley operation.
Which is what happens in Tijuana.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
They go, okay.
The whole Tijuana is a back alley. The entire city is a back alley. I mean, it just is. It's just the way, if you've been there, which I know you have, it's just a mess.
They're like, just meet us at the gas station. We'll pick you up. We'll be in a Pinto.
Yeah, I went down there with a friend of mine to get his car seats done in leather. He's like, drop the car off. You come back the next day. It's like $8. I'm exaggerating, of course. It's like, where are we? Is the car going to be here?
Is this legit?
Yeah, it was.
You get $8 for the leather, $20 for the stem cells.
It was a couple hundred. It wasn't a lot though. But stuff was going on all around us. It wasn't.
That wasn't the only racket that was happening.
No, not at all.
So this is legit, man. And so the first day I was kind of let down because I wanted to give me them stem cells, dude. I've been waiting 2 months and I just gave you all this money and, all these people donated. Everyone wants to know. I'm thinking everyone wants to know. And the first day they were like, okay, so we're going to do lab work and medical history. And that's it. And then you're going to chill out.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Doesn't that sound legitimate?
Yeah.
Sounds like a...
You thought you were just going to walk in, they start jabbing you, and you'd walk out.
Kind of. Yeah, you just don't even have to stop walking. We'll just stab you while you're walking through. And I was like, oh, shit, all right. So the next day, because of because it's a heart condition, there's studies that show that a vitamin C infusion... actually directs the stem cells to the cardiovascular system. So people that are there for lupus or multiple sclerosis or arthritis or whatever don't get the vitamin C infusion. So first thing in the morning, I come in, I get a vitamin C infusion. So IV catheter for 45 minutes, I sit and look at the beautiful view. And then 6 hours later, I come back. And so day one of the stem cells was the day two of the actual visit. And so when I came back in the afternoon, I was so stoked. I was like, there's even, my sister took a picture. You know how you can do live? You ever see live photos? It's like you take a photo, but it captures like 2 seconds of your...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm not super.
That I didn't think you were
aware.
that.
I mean, I've
savvy.
heard of it. I don't
Yeah.
know how to do it.
I didn't realize that she did a photo of me when I looked over.
Can you do that on your phone?
iPhone, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a setting on in your photos.
I'll have to figure that one out.
I'll show you. Yeah.
More stuff that clutter up my brain. But I'll do it.
You're like, do I really need this in the old
I
hard
was
drive?
happy before this. I'm going to be happier now with the 2-second thing.
There's more happiness. But the reason I bring
2
it up,
seconds of photos. It's double the fun.
it's not just a snapshot. But she got me in this moment where she's behind me, and I look over and I see all the like little syringes, and I look at the doctor, and I was all, "Is that the stem cells?" And the doctor goes, "Mm-hmm." And she sees, my sister's like happened to be snapping a photo of me, and I look up and I go, did like a fist pump, like yeah. And she caught it, and then she looped it and sent it to me, so it's a loop of me like pumping my fist, like hooray stem cells. So what they do is, the gist of it is they do intramuscular injections. In this case, they did shoulders and calves the first day, plus intravenous, right? And then I actually had worked it out with them before, where I could get injections in my big toe joints. And so it wasn't extra. They just saved some of what they would have put in my calves, and they went subcutaneously into my big toe joints, which that was the worst part. That was like the most painful part of the whole thing.
I know, man. I've had acupuncture there in parts of my feet. That's always the one that hurts the most.
Mm-hmm. Very sensitive, man. So I've had extreme arthritis. I call it extreme because it's been excruciating. I've had it for about 5 years in the big toe joints, but the last 2 years, it's like the first few steps I would take in the morning, I would limp. I was limping, like that much. Limited my.
Did you have breaks in your toes?
No, micro injuries. The podiatrist said at Kaiser, and then she said, "We need to cut you." Yeah, she actually the only time the podiatrist who I went to see touched me is when she took one of my big toes between her thumb and her index finger and shook it, and all she did was hurt me. And I was like, why on earth would you do that? And then I saw a rheumatologist at one point. This was back in September of 2017. And the rheumatologist gave me a cortisone injection, which worked, but you only really want to get like one for your life.
Yeah, I've heard that there could be some big bad side effects.
Results later. Yeah, side effects later. Yeah. So it worked. Like I was like, oh, wow. Like for a good while too, about 5-6 months. And then, then it's back, so, so they did the injections there. And so they told me as I was leaving, and they're like, we recommend that you, in the next hour, you go back to your room and relax. You don't necessarily have to shut it down, but just relax to see how your body is going to accept the cells. And so my sister and I went and got a little bite and a coffee or something, and then I went back to my room. They told me that I may experience flu-like symptoms. They said you may get fever and chills. But they gave me a phone too. If you need to call the doctor directly, there's a direct line to the doctor. Went back to my room, and I had exactly what they said. I started feeling these shaking, chills and feverish feeling. I didn't have soreness like a flu soreness. And what I did was instead of where I would normally sort of batten down the hatches to reject a virus or something, I relaxed and I said, "Come on in, guys. Come on in." So I wrapped up and was shaking, but I was inviting the stem cells into my body.
Sort of meditated them in and said, "All right, do what you got to do."
Yep, come on in, fellas. Find your way. Now, what the stem cells do, their job, their mission, if you will, is to literally home in on inflammation. They home in and they attach to inflamed cells, and they heal these cells. That's their job. They are undesignated. They're unassigned. They just seek inflammation.
They find them. Wow.
And there's a thing, I don't know exactly how it works, but they, quote unquote, modulate the immune system as well. So I can't tell you, man. I can't tell you because I'm going to. It's been less than 2 months. In 2 days, it'll be exactly 8 weeks or 2 months since I had. Well, I guess next week it'll be 2 months since I had my treatment. I feel great. Not to get ahead of myself, but I've been around sick people. I haven't gotten sick. I haven't taken any extra emergency or anything like that. I haven't used any extra antibacterial stuff. And I feel fucking great. Excuse my language. Yeah, it's a podcast.
Yeah, it doesn't
Fuck
matter.
everybody.
I remember you said something. I don't know. Did I see it on Facebook or something? There was something about your arthritis in your toes. You were talking. What happened?
I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Improvement is what's happening. So that was day one, and then I ordered some food. My sister came over and checked on me later. She was in the next room. It was great. I felt just fine in like 2 or 3 hours. I was like, oh, but I was tired. I slept well that night. Got up the next day. Didn't have to go to my appointment until 2. And then the second day, I only had intravenous, no intramuscular. And I felt fine. We went and saw a movie that night and ate some food. Found this dope vegan spot right down the street. I've been to so many places around the world. I've been vegan for 2 years, and I just went to New Orleans, and I was always like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to find vegan food. Wrong. It's everywhere now. Not that, if anyone cares, it's available, and I've been pleasantly surprised. So I found it. I was like, yes. Went to this great little vegan spot, which I can just continue to patronize while I was there because it was close and convenient. And then the next day, the third day of treatment, it was again intramuscular shoulders, and this time, what are these guys? Thighs. These big muscles. What are these called? These things.
Legs.
You know the biggest. Yeah, legs. Which part do you like? The big part, where there's like a bunch
Your
of flesh.
thigh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All that. Yeah.
So you gotta.
Boom. Shot me in there too. That was the second intramuscular injection on day 3. And then that night, again, I kind of anticipated. I was like, okay, if I feel flu-like again, I'm just going to go kick it in my room. It wasn't. I felt a little kind of chilled, but nothing big. Next morning, they did a quick exam and bid me farewell. They told me that it'll be 2 to 10 weeks. Like, realistically, I was like, okay, so worst case scenario, nothing happens. Like, nothing. Best case scenario, the arteries heal. I've been, not only has my heart been attacked literally by this condition caused by these blockages, but then it's also been infiltrated by pieces of metal that are now in the arteries, And my friend Steven, who I told you, he's like, oh man, they're just trying to make you into Tony Stark, they're making you a superhero or cyborg.
Yeah.
But they're there's metal in there. And so how's the body accepting that? And so ideally it heals the arterial damage, and it heals the heart muscle that's been damaged, and overall health. A lot of the stuff, even that Mel Gibson was talking about with his father was literally his cholesterol level evened out and things like that. I don't know if that's going to happen. I am super, super reluctant to get off these medications that got me. I'm scared to get off blood thinner. I'll probably never stop taking blood thinner.
You're kind of doing both. You've had the stem cells, but you're still on the medication that you were on before. And then how is it monitored to see if you're healing in your heart? How do you do that?
Before I go into that, I'm going to tell you that the results of the physical results that I can see are my big toe joints. Within 3 weeks, I was able to flex flex and curl my toes like I have not been able to do in years. And literally I almost wept. I was sitting on the side of my bed and I just curled my toes and went, like, oh my God, just curl my toes.
So something's happening. That's pretty huge.
And so flexibility, decrease in swelling, and a decrease in pain has occurred already. It still hurts right now. Like I'll be flat out. Like I'm not expecting it to be some snake oil or or magic, whatever. But there's a difference, man. Inflammation is decreased. I went to my cardiologist yesterday. Funny enough that we scheduled this for today. That's been the question. How can I monitor it? At least what is being made available to us, what we're being allowed to utilize, is extremely limited. This whole thing of like, hey, should I do annual angiograms? I don't recommend that. No. It's dangerous also. Mm-hmm. But I mentioned that documentary, The Widowmaker. This documentary highlights the stent industry from its inception. And alongside the stent industry, there was a scanner that this guy made called the cardiac calcium scanner. Some people are aware of it. I was not. You get your calcium score, quote unquote. And in essence, it's a sonogram for the arteries in the heart. And they can actually see calcium buildup there. Now, my qualm, if you will, is that my doctor did not immediately, when I told her that I have heart disease in my family and she saw that I have high triglycerides, that she did not immediately say, we're going to get you a calcium scan to see what you got. She didn't do that. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know I had to ask for it. But I saw this this documentary and I was furious.
It's highly irresponsible of the doctor. Is it expensive and they don't want to do it?
No, that's the thing. It's not expensive. They can't bill insurance for it. I'm just.
Well, it's like $150 if it's the thing I'm thinking of.
It's probably the thing that you're thinking.
Because there's a company called Heart Check that I get literature from in the mail about doing stuff like that.
It's
I don't know if
probably
it's the same, but it's basically they do a scan of.
Well, they've been holding the technology down since the 80s, but you can't hold it down forever. You can't stop progress.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same thing.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It's a calcium score. That's what they give you, is a calcium score. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know. I wasn't getting the things. I haven't hit the the AARP mailing list yet.
Well, that's not how I found out about it, by the way. I am of age for the AARP. And by the way, stop sending me stuff. They've been sending me stuff since I was like 50. I'm getting it for 15 years. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't realize, AARP is basically a giant insurance company. That's really what they do. They do some nice stuff, too, under the radar of that. But that's what they do. They're selling you insurance.
They show you some great stuff. Look at the AARP.
Yeah, they got a newsletter, and you can get giant phones with giant buttons at a really good price.
I've fallen, and I can't get up. I actually played some chess with my cardiologist because when I saw that documentary back in February, pre-stem cells, I sent her a message and I was like, hold on a second. What's up with this? How did I not know about this? And why didn't you guys do something? And so she wasn't my GP. So she obviously is coming into the game after I had the heart attack. And so she goes, Kaiser has one, but we don't use it on people. Actually, she said they, because she's just a talking head.
Right.
They don't use it on people who already have a lot of stents. And I was like, well, that's interesting. What about before I had any stents? And she didn't have a reply to that, which okay. And so then I actually asked her, I said, what do you think about stem cells? This is prior to my stem cells. And she wrote back 2 words, disastrous results. I wrote back, please explain. Bob, she sent me an unintelligible sentence, and I will tell you it verbatim because I was like, what? The response was, quote, the disastrous results were not injected directly into the heart, end quote, period.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either. I have no idea.
Huh?
Usually I told someone else
This is a doctor and an MD?
A cardiologist. Yeah.
Oh, man. Obviously skipped the writing classes in college.
It's not part of, you don't have to have that. It's not required. So there's that. So then fast forward, I feel great. Less than 2 months after the stem cell treatment. This appointment that I just had.
Right, this is where you're talking about the playing chess.
Yes.
Not literal chess.
Metaphorical chess.
Yes, metaphorical.
Yes, we sat and played chess. You're like, why did he say playing chess?
Yeah, just for our listeners, what he means is he had answers before he asked the questions.
Right.
He already knew certain things. He wanted to see what this doctor.
Yeah, what's your move?
I'll say the name doctor in a little cynical way. In this case, only. What that response would be. So tell the story because I know it a little bit already.
Yeah. So yeah. So I went and saw her yesterday morning. How you feeling? I just let her ask all of her questions. How you feeling? Are you taking this medication to do all the things? And I said I feel great. And in fact, I feel less inflammation in my big toe joints. And she goes, less inflammation? I said, yeah. I had stem cells. And she gave me, I wish that people could see my face right now because we were sort of like this distance apart. And so naturally she...
Couple of feet.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. She was sitting in front of a screen, looking at a screen, not looking at me. Looking at a computer screen here, not looking at me.
Right.
And when I said I got stem cell treatment, her gaze went over to me and she went...
Oh, that's yeah.
I don't know how to describe that face.
Yeah.
Smirk.
Smirk, like you idiot.
Like,
oh my God, what did you do?
Really? That
Yeah,
one. Really?
like, all this great stuff that we do, and you went and did that.
Stem cells, Sonny. Really? You know what her first question was? How much did it cost?
Oh.
That was her first question.
Yeah, how kind.
Not what are the results? Are you experiencing none of that? And then again, I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what they're not trying to, whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
So, but I started just to tell her, yeah, I feel really good. Less inflammation in my feet, all the things that I described. And then she just kept this smirk on her face the entire time while I said, I'd like to request at a certain time later the cardiac calcium scan. And she's like, it's not going to do you any good. It's going to be useless. And I was like, well, maybe it will be useless to you, but it won't be to me. I want to know if I have calcium in my arteries, if anything's cleared up.
How would it be useless?
Well, she's claiming that the stents will interfere with the imaging. That's why they don't recommend it for whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that you mean you can't? She's like, you can't see inside the stents. I'm like, I'm not trying to see inside the stents. I want to see the rest of the arteries. I want to know that I don't have other blockages forming.
Right, and then you could compare to, what they did with the angiogram probably in some way. You have a baseline with the angiogram, and you can check it with the scan.
How about this?
To some degree.
The second heart attack I had, they had to defer me to another hospital because they were full up. Because they're turning out stents left and right, dude. I mean, it's like Jiffy Lube. They're churning out stents every day. Today, at the the catheter lab at Kaiser, no less than 50 people got stents placed today. And that's $76,000. Let's call it $20,000 to $100,000 each. No less than bill to insurance. No less than that, for sure and for certain. Not to mention any other hospital. That's one place. So they had to defer me to Hollywood Presbyterian because it was full. And it was an emergency. Mine was an emergency. And so the information of my second heart attack, the images, she did not have access to. They could not. In 2018, the Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital could not share the digital images with my cardiologist because the systems don't match up or something like that. They said.
So it's just a mechanical issue, not a legal or.
I'm like, you guys sent me the images over the internet, and I sent them to Panama. They can't send them next door?
So you'll have to send them to this doctor if you decide to remain with this doctor, which I don't think you will.
By November, when our great insurance system of our country allows me to change insurance, I will change insurance, and I'll get on some other shitty insurance.
Yeah, with hopefully a better doctor.
Right. And
there was a doctor you're more in line with. It's a little more open to something else.
I went and saw another cardiologist before I got the stem cells, and he was similarly skeptical. And he basically said the same thing. I paid this guy $750 to tell me that I need to get my medications in line.
There must be somebody in our system that is open to and has some experience with what you've gone through. Because
I have my eye on somebody. Once I get changed over, I got my eye on this guy. His name is Dr. Bhatia. He was referred to me by another mutual friend of ours who I actually dated his sister. And his sister goes to this doctor, and she said, you got to go to this guy. He's way more than just looking at numbers and lab work. He's spiritual. He's actually Sikh.
Okay, so he's a human being with a connection to other human beings that isn't just numbers and, I passed this class and got this grade, so I know what I'm doing.
And the board of directors of this HMO said that this is what we do. This is the policy. We don't deviate from the policy.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the things, too. So I get it. I even looked at her and I said, I get it. I know that you have, this isn't you. This is the system.
Right.
And she said to me, she did say, and I'm not going to name her, obviously. I've named Kaiser because fuck them.
Right.
But she said, and watch the Widowmaker, and
I'm going to watch it tonight
Kaiser.
Or tomorrow night.
Yeah, Kaiser.
Maybe tonight.
Yeah, sometime.
Widowmaker.
The Widowmaker on Netflix, yeah. it's really happy viewing. Good bedtime viewing.
I may have to watch it in the day.
Watch it in
I
the
don't like to
daytime.
watch creepy shit at night before I go to sleep because then I have horrific dreams.
Yeah.
And I go, why did I do that?
I recommend mid to late afternoon viewing.
When I can do something else and get it out of me before I go to sleep.
You can watch some Seinfeld or something.
I like to watch light stuff before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Or nothing.
Uh-huh.
Nothing's good.
Nothing's great to
Yeah.
watch right before you go to bed. I literally, I just had to ask her, if I request these things, can I rely on you to make the referral? And she said yes.
Okay.
Right. So when the Stem Cell Institute, their protocol is that at 3 months they ask for lab work. So they'll say, get these blood values for us, and I'm going to communicate with them and ask them if they have any suggestion on monitoring, like what types I could, because there's a CT scan. I'm going to have to put radiation in my body to get the scan. I may wait 6 months just to give it more chance so I don't have to do more scans. But, just to let the stem cells do more work. And so I'm going to ask what they would recommend as far as what imaging or whatever. Could we see the tissue and to see if there's any...
Wow.
Anything.
See, that's where these testing things are great.
Mm-hmm.
You get to, What is the sort of long-term healing process? I know it's not an exact thing, but what like, for instance, Mel Gibson's father, that was a period of a couple of years?
I feel like it was a year, like a year, calendar year. And then, it takes a while for us to get this damage to happen. So it takes a while for the healing to occur.
Yeah.
Is what I'm gleaning from it.
I want to do this again in a year.
Sounds good to me.
And we'll come back and we'll talk about where you're at.
Yep.
July
12.
Well, somewhere in here. Could be less than a year. Could be June 2.
Sounds good.
Or 3 even.
6/2/19. We're coming
You're
at
good
you.
with dates. You remember a lot of specifics on dates. My whole past since yesterday back is a blur. I mean, I remember some stuff, but I couldn't tell you a date. I can
Rain
tell you
Man,
the day I
bro.
was born because I know that. It's on all my paperwork. But everything else is so like from the time to 2 up to like 63, anything could have happened on any day. I don't really remember any of it. I was just thinking, what are the things that I do remember? Because I don't remember dates. I remember when people did mean stuff to me. And I remember them. And I remember good stuff too, like heightened moments.
May 27th, 1995, and May 27th, 1997 are 2 days. That's the day I arrived in Santa Barbara, California to join this one particular band called Snot that I was in. I landed in my car here in Santa Barbara. And then 2 days later to the day, I had my first major label album release on that same day, 2 years to the day.
Those are heightened moments that I
Exactly.
could understand that. Yeah. Plus
It's
the name
special.
Snot. I mean, who wouldn't want to remember that moment?
Yeah, we were...
What little combo are you playing with, Sonny? A little bunch of guys. We call ourselves Snot.
Yeah, we're adult contemporary. We take ourselves very seriously, though.
Well, that's a lot. I think a lot of people don't realize the humor that's in metal, because it is sort of a hard driving, relentless rage machine a lot of the times.
Mm.
But there's also a lot of humor in there, and there's some melodic stuff too.
Absolutely.
That if you really listen. But at first it feels like an assault. When I would first hear that kind of music, I'm like, "What is this?"
And why?
And why? Well, I get the anger. I get like the testosterone of youth. That I get. But sometimes I find it at first kind of like that. And then if I listen a little bit more, I go, oh, there's much more here than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had actually another mutual friend of ours who's significantly older than me. And he also had history in the music business, working with Roy Orbison and Three Dog Night and all this stuff. He was a lawyer and so on. That guy.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, Sonny, what does music? And I was like, well, check it out, man. So here you go. Listen to this part and realize that this is the verse. Okay? This is the verse. And then here comes the chorus. And he would go 2, 3, 4. And then he got it. He went, oh, there's the verse and there's the chorus. And then he had a frame of reference to where he realized it wasn't just... If it was, there was actually notes being played, and then there was a transition. Some of it is shit. You're right, but
well, that's in any genre. That there's
But
talented people, and there's
some of it is absolutely symphonic. orchestral, and beautifully and so musical. So yeah, Snot, we were pretty orchestral.
Well, I used to hear that a lot with blues. People would say, I love blues, and people would say, it's the same thing over, same 3 chords, it's this. Like, you don't understand. There's some subtlety going on here that you're not hearing. There's other things going on. There's a drone that transports you in a way that you can't really get until you immerse yourself in it.
Exactly. You ever see that movie, Crossroads with Ralph Macchio?
I did see that movie.
Right. Ry Cooder played all the slide and guitar stuff that he played in the movie, and Steve Vai was the guy who battled at the end.
How great was that?
Cutting heads. That was like Rocky. That was like a Rocky moment.
I remember seeing him. That was the first time I even knew who he was, and I was like,
Steve Vai?
Yeah. And I was like, this guy's unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
And then I sort of got to know who he was when he played with Frank Zappa and
David Lee Roth.
Yeah, he's just really terrific. He's a player.
An alien. He's like, I don't know what he does. I'm like, I don't know what that. I think I play that instrument, but I don't know how you do it like that.
Yeah, well, there's people like that. And what about your guitar playing? Have you noticed anything with your fingers?
Well, I almost sliced my finger off the other day. See that?
Oh, ow.
Yeah, so I don't recommend that. 5 minutes. He just gave us the 5-minute warning. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we're in a special room at the library, so we're going to end it here in 1 second.
Really, they're going to let us out.
I'm just so happy for you.
Thanks, man.
I just think it's the greatest thing. The whole story is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I wanted to plug the Stem Cell Institute again real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so it's in Panama City, Panama, cellmedicine.com, Dr. Neil Reardon, Riordan. He has a book called, I think, Stem Cell Medicine, something like that. But this place, so I got enough monies technically to get 2 treatments, not including travel and work loss, whatever. But I still have a nice chunk left over. And so I told them when I had it booked, I wanted to have our friend. I'm going to tell him to listen to this because he's all over it. Steven Steelman. I wanted to have.
I know Steven.
Yeah,
yes,
he's fantastic.
Great guy.
He's a videographer. He does production, video production, and director, and so on. And I wanted to have him come with me and document it. And they said, sorry, we can't actually have someone come in with video cameras and so on. But the person who called me to tell me that was the vice president of the Stem Cell Institute. And he happened to know some bands I was in, Seven Dust, Ugly Kid Joe, and he knew these bands. So I think he was like, oh, Sonny Mayo, I'm going to call him. And so he called me. We were wrapping out. And I said, hey, man, I got enough to get a second treatment. Maybe should I just book it for like 3 months from now or from the treatment? And he goes, well, now this is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is $28,150 that I could hand right over. Another $28,000 here. And he goes, well, maybe wait 6 months because you might not need it.
Yeah. Love to hear that. That is a good guy. Those are people that they're doing it. They're into it to do it to help, not to get rich on it.
I said, are you just talking me out of giving you $28,000? He goes, yeah, wait. And I was like, amazing. Thank you. I said, okay, I'll wait. Yeah. And
I love it. I love it.
And so that's the kind of people that you're dealing with here.
Well, thanks, Sonny.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
We'll be back here in a year to anyone who's listening.
6/2/19.
But I'll see him, tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Listen for our next podcast to drop 6/2/19 coming at you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Well, that was Sonny. Wow. Thanks, Sonny. That was amazing. I had no idea about any of that stuff. I love to get that brand new information out there. And big health and healing to Sonny. Big health and healing to Sonny. And thanks so much. And thanks you guys for listening to the show. Appreciate it very much.